I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of Monday, December the 8th, and if the clerk would please take the roll.
Councilmember Archibald.
Here.
Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Cole.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Here.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Here.
Mayor Rupp.
Here. You have before you the minutes from the regular meeting of November the 24th. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So move.
Thank you, Councilmember Ashford. Is there a second?
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Is there any additions or deletions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes will stand as submitted. We have one presentation tonight. If the clerk would please read that.
Nancy Windsor, Parks and Recreation Director, and Keely Baraboo from the Port Huron Area School District Community Relations Director will provide information on the partnership between the two entities to provide recreational activities at the year-round Cleveland Elementary School.
Mayor and City Council, we're very excited to announce this great opportunity between the Port Huron Area School District and the Port Huron Parks and Recreation Department. And with our mission of providing safe and fun activities at the Recreation Department and their mission of educating, we've kind of come together with a lot of people to try to come up with a good program that would provide both things. Not that education isn't fun, but with how it add a little recreation to it. And through the year-round schooling, they have what's called an intersession. We're hoping, which is their break. So we're hoping that this program is something that will start in Cleveland and possibly take off to other buildings as time goes on. The difference between this program compared to other partnerships we've done with the school district, it's a lot different because of the fact that we are taking some of their staff and some of our staff. So the kids are not only going to get recreational, education and recreation all in one, which is a lot different than we've done in the past. They've got the education side, we've got the recreation side, so we're hoping that in those weeks off, it gives kids an opportunity to do something that's not only fun, but also different experiences that they don't always get an opportunity to do. We're very excited for this opportunity. We're thankful to the generous support of the Atchison Foundation, who's helped with some funding with this, and also Title I monies. And again, we've all worked real hard, and I'd like to just give a shout out to a couple of you that aren't here, and then I'll introduce Jennifer Allen at the school district, and Theo Kahulis is in the audience with us today. He also helped put this together, and Deb Barr. So everyone's been working real hard to work together, and I think James always says it well, as we make when we make the schools better, we make the city better. We want to provide, positive activities for the kids. And I think this is just a great opportunity. So with that, I'm going to introduce Keely Baraboo. She's the Community Relations for the Port Huron Area School District. And this is Dave Roberts. He's the principal of Cleveland Elementary. And I'm going to let them turn it over to them for a minute.
Hi, Dave Roberts. Just want to talk briefly about what this means for our kids at Cleveland Elementary. It allows us to extend and open our doors from our great school, and have our kids in a safe, caring environment over those times. We like to call intercession times. We have a balanced calendar, different than traditional school calendars where we have no more than about 4 weeks off at a time. So this will be our first go at an intercession time. We're really pushing this with parents. Our second one we'll look at in April and see how it goes this time.
I'd like to second Dave's enthusiasm and Nancy's as well, and just thank all of you for your support. We really, at the district, firmly believe that this follows with our mission and our goals of advocating, innovating, and educating children. And in this opportunistic time of break, why not extend an introduction to recreation and continue their education process? It's an excellent thing. So we thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I just ask a question? How much of a time of a day is this? Is this like the regular school day, time-wise?
9 until 3.
9 until 3 every day.
It mirrors our time pretty close. We start at about 8:20 to 3:15 right now, but it'll be 9 until 3.
And it's January 5th through the 9th, right?
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nancy, can you speak to how well this works with our current staffing and our key people on staff and why this makes sense?
Yes, what we hire is, everyone knows probably, a lot of part-time, a lot of teachers too that may be, subbing. So it works out real well with the school district because a lot of our staff are certified teachers as well. So they've got both the recreation portion of it and also the education part of it as well. So I think it's going to be a real nice fit for everybody, and we're real excited to try work this closely with the school district, so.
Sounds like a great program. Does anyone on council have any questions?
Just that, Nancy, you must have a good program going, because I know they've really had some high standards to fall under Title I to be able to fund it. I mean, those really got to be strict, so this must be a good program. And I like the way year-round school is now turned into a balanced school year. Is that the term used now? I found that, I heard that on the radio. I thought, oh, that's interesting. But I like it. It does soften, but there's so many good things coming out of Cleveland, and the fact that it does have that balanced school year, and that just is a real plus, and I congratulate all of you. And that new leadership in the district is coming up with some good ideas. Theo is one of those people, and the rest of you, and congratulations.
Anyone else? Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to add to that and say that, when they came to us about this, they wanted some real positive things for the kids to do. So, those intercessions are probably a little tough for parents as far as coming up with daycare and childcare. And maybe this is a little bit more. It's education and fun in both. They're teaching me a little bit about the education side, and I'm making them get a little crazy, so. It's all good.
Councilmember Ashford, you had a comment?
So, just so, a couple questions. So this could be probably just seen as a pilot at this point? So it's a pilot? And then the whole emphasis, I can understand fun and year-round, and I can understand education, but what is the bottom line? What's the outcome? What is your expectations of this program?
Well, you want to address it first, or want me?
Well, I would, again, as a district, we look at everything from, like Nancy pointed out, how can we support our families, that advocation piece, and how can we innovate times and opportunities of teaching these kids? And I think it is tricky adjusting to the balanced calendar, and, when the parents are adjusting to the kids, throughout the district otherwise, coming back from break and going back, and then Cleveland, they still are on their break. So I think the bottom line for this is to sort of have a bridge so that we're supporting some of those gaps where education still might be able to be filled and fulfilled for those kids, and families supporting those challenges with childcare and things.
Yeah, and on the city side, our bottom line is to always provide activities for the kids that are safe. Educational is great, that they're not sitting in front of a screen, they're doing more active things. So this gives us a great opportunity to do that on our end, so.
And we would encourage any of you to come by Cleveland and see the kids in action that week, for sure. That would be wonderful if you could see it in action.
I'll accept your invitation. And what was the attraction, why was Cleveland selected to be the first one? What was the attraction there? What was the?
Well, currently, they're only year-round school, am I correct in saying that? So that was why we chose that one first. So we're trying the intercession, as Parks and Rec too has to start thinking about, as the shift of year-round school happens,
Right.
how are we helping our kids in those breaks? So Cleveland's the only school in Port Huron right now, so that's why we're testing there at this point.
Well, I commend you for all your efforts and look forward to, coming back and letting us know how it worked out.
Thank you.
One last thing, I think it's important to point out is the geographical differences between our community center and where Cleveland is, so it really opens up a lot of opportunities for recreation that sometimes these citizens who pay taxes may not have had. But I think it's important to show the community this partnership. Although small at beginning, it's important that the community sees that we're working with our schools. This is what the community expects of us in the 21st century, and this is the new level of expectation, so I hope that this program meets to those expectations of our citizens.
Anyone else
Thank you.
have any comments, questions?
Mayor,
Oh, yes,
I
Councilmember Harris.
just had one comment. I was listening to a presentation this morning about it, and some of the things you're talking about today. Is there a transportation gap that you guys have to work with as far as getting the students there and getting them home?
We touched on this earlier. There are a lot of hoops that come with Title I, and in the budget this year, we have it put, or for this for the latest on intercession, we didn't put in transportation. But that's something we'll look at. We'll look at perception survey, we'll look at perception data, and if that's something that our parents want and need, then we would write that into the next budget.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure it'll be a great program. Thank you for sharing. Now is the time for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the city council, please come forward, give us your name, and you have 4 minutes.
I don't think I need an introduction, but I will.
Thank you.
I am Armstead Diggs, one of the local ministers here in the area, and I'm very pleased to see this particular program get started. I have a question that I wanted to ask them, so if they will somehow or other provide this information for me, I'd appreciate it. It just so happens that I was wondering, do you anticipate growth? And to what extent do you expect this growth to take and grasp the community? And do you feel that the community is going to accept it as progress, or progress that is profitable to all the students that are involved and also the people that are involved in our community? I see potential, yes, and I do see things happening, but I just wondered, what did they have in a vision for that?
Okay, that's something certainly that if you're talking about the school district,
Yes.
that you would need to talk to the school district about, and I'm sure they'd be happy to either set up a timer to take you in the back there and discuss what that is. I have a feeling that's what you were asking about rather than what the city's involvement is. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the city council this evening?
Christy Hazard, 219 Huron Avenue, Mayor, Rep, and Council, and Manager Fried. I just want to take a minute and say thank you. The recent Santa Parade that we had was a huge success. Lots of entries, and we couldn't have done it without the police, fire, and streets. We really appreciate their effort. And we've just completed our application for the Main Street program. And I just wanted to say thank you to the Planning Department, Rita and Kim, for their help, and also Ryan and the Assessor's Office for providing some information for us. You know, downtown can't work in a vacuum, and we certainly appreciate your support in working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council?
My name is Alan Skinner. Of course, I'm a resident of the city of Port Huron. The notepad's not all my notes. That's just what I brought along for the day. We're trying to keep our city beautiful, and we've made a lot of strides on trying to keep the blight down in the city. And I'm concerned, I don't know whether it was a weather condition or Mother Nature or whatever, but I'm concerned about the amount of leaves which are still left on the streets, especially in the north end. They're bagged, they've been put to the curb, and I called the DPW, and I was informed that on the last week of the pickup, if there was any slack time, they were not going to make a round of the city and try to find places to pick up leaves. I'm wondering if we can have another pickup, or maybe in the scheduling for the next year, we might start a little later, or skip one of the weeks within the fall, so we could go a little bit later in the fall. I know personally in Zone 1, where I live, the last pickup was the 24th. Wasn't time enough to get all the leaves up and bagged or put on the curb. So I'm just asking for, some consideration when that schedule is made next year for those issues. I'm not sure of the schedule for opening the gate for the compost at the DPW yard at the last Saturday of every month. I may have missed it. I could be wrong. I don't believe it was open the last Saturday of November. I don't know. Had it been, I probably would have taken my leaves there rather than leave them on the curb at this late date. So just some things for the council to consider for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll have that addressed before the end of the meeting as far as some of the
Thank you.
questions, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council this evening?
Good evening, Mayor and council members.
Thank you.
My name is Sharon Bender. I live on South Boulevard in Port Huron. And this is,
I'm Michael Gino. I live at 2028 St. Clair Street, in Port Huron.
and I'm reading this on his behalf. To the City of Port Huron City Council and Planning Commission, please consider an 8-inch natural gas main under pressure runs under the east end of my property and the ground just south of me where construction of the Baker Dormitory is taking place. As I type this request, my house and the ground around this construction site is shaking so much that light items on shelves are falling off. I have requested information from the Planning Commission since September 2nd about the existence of this gas main and details related to how close building construction can safely take place. See attached letter to the Planning Commission received at their December 1st, 2014 meeting. I do not see guarantees that unforeseen catastrophes will not occur. I do request again that a knowledgeable, qualified city or utility representative provide for our neighborhood and concerned citizens written evaluation details along with assurance that the construction activities and dwelling of dormitory students so close to this active gas main is reasonably safe in accordance with utility codes, regulations, and standard practice. Should anyone view this request as paranoid or unreasonable, I include just a few examples of information published in the past year about natural gas explosions and their causes. Example 1, arbitrator upholds firings of consumer energy workers for fatal Royal Oak gas explosion.
Sharon, I don't mean to cut you off, and certainly I respect Mr. Gino, but you're never going to get through this whole letter in 4
Yes.
minutes, and we do have it all in front of us, so
Well, I will get to the details.
get to the end of...
There are 3 examples of natural gas disasters. One was dated February 26th of 2014, the other July 2nd of 2014, and March 12th.
Perhaps you could read the last one.
All right, I will do that. At least 2 people are dead after a major explosion linked to a gas leak destroyed 2 buildings in Harlem on Wednesday. This is what we know about why most major gas-related explosions happen. Many of these leaks come from underground pipes. When that happens, gas travels the path of least resistance. Sometimes that means it moves through the soil and dissipates into the air. But when that soil is filled with inches or even a full foot of frost, the frozen soil acts as a cap, says Mark McDonald, president of Natural Gas Consulting and New England Gas Workers Association. That pushes the lighter-than-air gas sideways, usually into a home or building. Winter is a difficult time. When gas leaks outside the wall can't go into the air, they travel to the foundation and to every opening, water lines and sewer lines. If a foundation is porous or cracked, that is how it gets in. A buildup of gas in a trapped environment elevates the risk for explosion as the methane levels continue to increase. Natural gas can combust on its own under the right conditions. Within a pressurized gas environment, a simple spark is all that's needed for an explosion. Unfortunately, explosions are way too common and occur on a regular basis. It appears to be getting worse. Most explosions get blamed on aging infrastructure and a lack of resources to properly patrol, monitor, and fix that infrastructure.
Sharon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is 4 minutes up already?
Yes, it has. I know it goes by quickly when you're standing there, and certainly this is important, but we do all have it in front of us, and I will ask that the city manager reviews this and looks into it and gets back with an answer to Mr. Gino, if that would be all right.
Well, I'd like to consider Sharon using her 4 minutes, and I'd like a couple of my own. Very difficult for me to be here since the last time I was here. My wife just passed away this year. And I am a property owner on the site of land where the convention center and Baker College are in the last home. And this gas main runs under that ground. And I am concerned for safety, that's all. And I've had no information, nobody willing to go on the record just to give the neighborhood and me some assurance that this is going to be safe. If you were at my home today, the vibration would make you wonder, is it affecting these pipes? There's going to be a larger population living very close to that main gas line. I just learned today that the foundation of the building is within 21 feet of this 8-inch gas line. So we just want to know that it's safe. And so I ask you to please look into this and provide some kind of answer so that I, as a taxpayer and a resident, can feel comfortable with what's going on. Thank you.
We certainly will. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council this evening? Seeing no one, I'll declare public comment time closed, and we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Ashford, and we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole? Yes. Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Items on the consent agenda, received and filed notification that Donna Schwartz has been reappointed by the city manager to the Port Huron Housing Commission for a term to expire December 19, 2019. Approve the Sister City Commission reappointment of Alan Kutcher for a term to expire April 12, 2016, and the reappointment of Louise Bauman, Armstead Diggs, and Frederick Scott Fernandez for terms to expire April 12, 2017. Confirmed and approved single lock special assessments for the cost of sidewalk replacement and right-of-way. Approved postponing the second meeting in December, and that would be it. Takes us back to unfinished business.
Number 1 is approving the immediate demolition of 2008 Minnie Street, known as Code Case Number 14-009 for listed violations. This item was postponed from the November 10th, 2014 meeting.
Did it have a motion at that time? Or was it just, I know a motion to postpone, but was there original motion on the floor at that
Yes.
time? So we don't really need to have a motion now. We just can discuss it, yes. When there's a motion that was there and then it was postponed, the motion's still on the floor. So we probably would like to hear from, yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was the maker of that motion, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to rescind that motion.
Well, no, you made the motion to
Okay,
postpone.
I made it, yeah.
But then there was a motion to.
I thought we had to take it off and then vote on it. You don't have to take it off?
She's checking.
Oh, okay.
Apologize.
During that time,
That's why I
Robert
asked,
rules.
but we still will have Kim talk about the
okay.
item, okay?
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. With regards to the property at 2008 Minnie Street, I believe I gave you a brief report and a written report at the last council meeting. At this point, we have still not heard anything back from Mr. Reynolds in response to our communications. We did check with the county today to make sure of the status of the property as far as the taxes. They do not have any evidence that he's come in and requested consideration of a hardship. As I mentioned to you, our conversation with them, they would also, because this would be his third request for a hardship, that he signed the documents and then did not follow through, that it would be unlikely that they would accept that application until at least the 2010 back taxes were arranged for payment in full. And then they would make their decision in February. But as of today, he had not made those arrangements or contacted them. So we are where we were 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Then Sue checked back, and your motion was to postpone action until this meeting. It wasn't
okay.
to actually adopt it, so we did not have one to move for immediate demolition, so we do need one on the
So
floor.
we do, okay, so I move for immediate demolition.
Okay, Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Support.
I think Councilmember Harris got in there first, so we'll go with that. Is there further discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole? Yes. Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Communications and petitions, number 1.
Number 1 is to receive and file notification from the Planning Commission regarding their decision to deny recommendation on the request to rezone the area referred as Harrison Point from an R1 single and two-family residential district zone to an R single-family residential district zone.
Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Cole. Discussion.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
I guess, I don't know if it'd be administration or Kim, but if someone could follow up with Kathleen on what her other options are, if she is not aware of that, or maybe remind her of what her other options may be.
We have already scheduled a meeting with her
Perfect.
to discuss about what some possible options are for the future. And so I believe Kim will be meeting with her in the next couple weeks.
Great, thank you.
Any other discussion?
I guess I'd just like to encourage then those neighbors who came together for this original petition to pursue some of those other alternatives. I think there are some good options for them that will hopefully accomplish what they're hoping to. I understand trying to revitalize that neighborhood, so.
Thank you, Councilmember Cole. Anybody else?
Just, if you don't mind.
Councilmember Harris.
Just a brief comment. I just roughly did some of the information that I thought was pertinent. This neighborhood over there, through the efforts of Kim and the city, it's just my estimate that we spent pretty near $300,000 in removal of blighted properties. We've lost some money in tax base, but we've put a lot of money into it. The neighborhood's starting to change from the way it was 10 years ago, and I think that says a lot for the city of Port Huron and a lot for the neighborhood, and I think we just got to keep doing what we're doing.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes. We'll move on from the city manager.
Number 1 is to receive and file the comprehensive annual financial report for the year ended June 30th, 2014.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Cole. I believe Mr. Brennan has a presentation, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we are submitting the comprehensive annual report for the year ended June 30th of 2014. It has been prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and the pronouncements of the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. As in prior years, there are minor presentation changes to as GASB standards have been updated. And there are 4 parts in this report: the introductory section, the financial section, which includes an unmodified report from our independent auditors, Plant & Moran, the highest possible report, management's discussion and analysis, and the entity-wide and fund financial statements. Also, the 3rd and 4th sections are the statistical section and the single audit section. The city is comprised of over 30 funds. Each separate fund can be located by checking the table of contents. As the council reads through the CAFR, please feel free to contact me with any questions you might have. We have Crystal Simpson and Jamie Christian here from our auditing firm, Plant Moran, and if it pleases the council, they would like to come forward and make a short presentation on the CAFR.
Sure.
Good evening. I'm Crystal Simpson from Plant Moran. I was the manager on the audit engagement this year. With me, I have Jamie Christian. She was the in charge. You should have a letter that I distributed from Plant Moran. And we've also brought with us this evening a graph presentation for you as well. So as you know, the financial statements are prepared by your Department of Finance. I only have one other client that I work on throughout the year that's able to prepare their own comprehensive annual financial report. And like he just discussed the various sections, there are a lot of additional information that's required in addition to just a normal set of financial statements. So Ed and Bobby do a great job of compiling that information, as well as some other staff within their department. So you should be very proud that they're able to produce that document for you. The audit opinion, like Ed mentioned, that's the only information within your financial statements that we actually produce. And you did receive again this year an unmodified opinion, or what's referred to as a clean opinion, on your financial statements, and that is the highest level of assurance that we can provide on your financial statements. So instead of going through the almost 200-page now document, Jamie's going to go through the graph presentation for you this evening.
All right. So the first slide we have for you is the general fund revenue sources for the city of Port Huron for the years 2012, 2013, and 2014. We can see that overall total revenue has been fairly consistent for the past 3 years, with 2014 total revenue of $21 million. The largest revenue source for the city's general fund is taxes in the orange color, and this accounts for 60% of total revenue in 2014. This graph displays the expenditures of the general fund for the years 2012, 2013, and 2014. Expenditures have remained consistent between the 3 years, with 2014 expenditures totaling $21 million. The largest expenditure for the city's general fund is public safety, which accounts for 60% of the total expenditures in 2014. Here we have a graph that compares the general fund expenditures and fund balance for the past 3 years. We can see that expenditures are significantly higher than fund balance, and that fund balance has been consistent for the past 3 years. In 2014, fund balance as a percentage of expenditures was 21% for the general fund. This graph compares the general fund balance for the 2 years, 2013 and 2014. 2014 total fund balance has increased slightly from 2013 by $92,000 or 2%. The non-spendable balance relates to prepaid items and fluctuates due to timing of payments. The committed classification relates to subsequent years' expenditures and has remained consistent between the 2 years, and then the unassigned balance has increased in 2014. This graph displays the water fund's operating revenues, operating expenses, working capital, and cash for the years 2012, 2013, 2014. We can see that operating revenue has exceeded operating expenses, creating operating income for the past 3 years. In 2014, operating income did amount to $1.2 million. It is important to note that although the fund has experienced operating income for the past 3 years, the fund has made principal payments on the outstanding debt, which is not shown in the expenses. In 2014, principal reductions totaled $2.3 million, and this is presented on your balance sheet as a reduction in the liability for total long-term debt. The fund has also been paying interest related to the outstanding debt, which is presented as a non-operating expense on the income statement. In 2014, the amount of interest expense was $1.6 million. So this amounted to a total debt service for the water fund in 2014 of $3.9 million. If we factor in the debt service, the fund would have ended the year with a $9.4 million expense, creating an operating loss of $2.6 million. And then working capital is current assets less current liabilities, and is an indicator of the fund's ability to pay for current operations. And working capital and cash have remained consistent between 2013 and 2014. This last slide we have for you displays the water fund's operating revenue, operating expenses, and working cap. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. This slide is the sewer fund, the wastewater fund as you refer to it. Don't want to confuse anybody.
No, I was wondering where you were.
We already covered that.
Okay.
So this is the same thing for the sewer fund. We have the operating revenues, operating expenses, working capital cash for the years 2012, 2013, 2014. We can see that operating expenses have exceeded operating revenue, creating an operating loss for the past 3 years. In 2014, operating loss was $1.6 million for the sewer fund. And again, this does not include the debt services amount. In 2014, the total debt service was about $12 million for this fund. That's for both. Okay. And then both working capital and cash have been experiencing a declining trend over the past 3 years. That concludes our
All right, is there any questions on that before we briefly cover the letter?
Does anyone on council have a question about the presentation?
Pretty
portion?
exciting. I say we go through the whole 200 pages tonight.
Perhaps another time.
I don't think anybody
So
wants to.
just quickly on the letter, there was a letter sent before the audit started, just to let you know how the audit was planned to go. This letter just brings it full circle, let you know if the audit went according to plan. Most of it is standard wording. We'll just touch a couple points here. On page 3, we do bring to your attention that there are some accounting estimates included in your financial statements related to the retiree health care, your pension contributions, and then the incurred but not reported for general liability and workers' comp. So there are some assumptions that are used in relation to developing those estimates, and we look at those assumptions and we felt comfortable that they were reasonable to come up with those estimates. On page 4, if we did come across any journal entries that we proposed as part of the audit process, we'd be required to report those to you. We did not identify any journal entries during our audit. And again, that just is a huge testament to your finance department. Generally, on any audit we work on, we come up with at least a handful of journal entries. And so what that means for you is throughout the year when you're getting information from your finance department and making decisions on that, it is good, reliable information that you can use to make good decisions. On to page 6, section 2 is just some legislative and informational items. These are getting really thick now because there's a lot going on. So we won't go through all of those either, but on page 16, there are some new pension standards that are coming out that will impact the city next year. Governmental Accounting Standard Statement number 68, that will require your unfunded pension liabilities to become a liability within your financial statements. Prior to that, it was just a footnote disclosure you'll see in your financial statements there. They're wanting to bring the governmental sector up to speed with how the private sector has handled that in the past. To the extent that you have budgeted funds, so like your general fund, those types of funds, they won't be impacted by that liability. It'll be that first set of statements that you'll see, what we refer to as the government-wide set of financial statements. And that's really the long-term view, your long-term debt's recorded there, your capital assets, those type of items, similar to a corporate business. So you will see that change for next year, and Ed is, of course, on top of that and working with the actuary to get that information. So with that, that's all we had. I don't know if you have any questions on this or any other questions that we can help you with at this
Does
time.
anyone have any questions?
Well, Mayor Rep, due
Yes,
to the
Councilmember
fact...
Ashford.
Yes, due to the fact that we just got this, and this is a lot of paper, to go over, so at least for me, I can't really intelligently ask you anything at this point, other than to say, is anything alarming about this report that you find in your audit, or?
No alarming at all.
So it's just status, I beg your pardon?
It's very standard.
Very
wording.
standard? So how are we doing, in a nutshell?
You're doing very well. I think you've addressed the issues that we discussed during the audit process with management was, the fees in your water funds and how that was looking going forward. You've taken action to help correct that. But other than that, all the other funds looked healthy.
A couple things I would point out. First and foremost, our general fund, which covers police and fire and our essential services, we, through cost-cutting measures, essentially was able to grow that fund balance by, I think, 2.1% this year. Our goal will be around 25%. In relation to the general fund, in January, I will bring you a general fund balance policy that the city doesn't currently have, and we will also bring a debt policy before the council in January. So you can expect a general fund policy and a debt policy to be presented. Two major things that I think the mayor and the council and the citizens at home should take away is, first and foremost, Ed Brennan is running a very tight ship in the finance department, that our finances are being reported accurately and timely. Another thing is that we're not just taking Ed Brennan's word for it or the finance department's word for it, that the council does contract out to have third-party validation of our numbers, which you're here to validate our numbers. And so I think it is important that people know that we have CPAs that come in and inspect our books to make sure that we're keeping us honest. So those are the two major things I want the citizens to recognize, and also to thank Ed. It's very impressive.
If I may ask, they basically tell us that our accounting practices are on the mark and we're recording everything appropriately. And I think I asked this sometime or another, we had a budget meeting. When asked, do they give suggestions? And they don't do that, they don't do that now?
That's key. We
Is that
ask,
correct?
yeah.
And they haven't in the past years? They've never,
When we ask, they give it to us. We asked last time, and they
yes,
gave
we
us.
haven't asked in the past, have we?
Correct. And so what we essentially pay them is the money we say in the bank, and that's what they come to validate, tell us what we're reporting is accurate, they're right now validating that our reporting is accurate. Now, whether the policy implications of that, those types of opinions, that's what we recently asked of them at the previous work session this fall, and that's what we got, was the opinion.
Two things. I guess that's what's surprising when I asked that question and discovered that, and it was one of those dull moments, is like, I assumed, a nasty word, that I assumed that along the way we were getting that kind of information and opinions about, watch this and those kinds of things. That surprised me that we hadn't. Is it an additional cost, or is it just the time spent as any other business is, that if we ask for opinions to be written out or suggestions, it's another cost incurred, or is it blended in? How does that?
Sometimes, but also I take opportunity. I have an executive session with Crystal, correct? We had met with Joe and Crystal early in the year, very early in my tenure here, and I use that opportunity to ask them, what are your professional opinions on this and this and this and that? And to be quite frank, a lot of the proposals I bring you, I ask finance, and I also ask third-party auditors, what do you think of this? Additionally, what are the best practices that they're seeing done in other communities? As auditors, they see changes taking place across the state, and that's a tool and resource that we like to say, what are other communities doing that we're not doing that maybe we should look at? And they've been very forthcoming in providing that opinion. So yes.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the audit that we perform is to provide reasonable assurance that your numbers are reported properly. Throughout that process, if we identify any suggestions for improvement, we bring those to the table. With the finance department that you do have, with good segregation of duties, we haven't had as many recommendations as we might somewhere else. But again, like James said, we met with him early on his coming to the city and discussed any concerns that he might have and different things at different communities. The minimum fund balance policy is a great best practice that a lot of communities have been implementing, especially if you're increasing your fund balance. You don't want the residents to think that you're just increasing fund balance to do so. They want to know that you have a plan for what you're setting aside to be able to show that the current charges are providing benefits to the current residents. So I think that's another great thing that you're doing.
The one thing as well tonight, what was discussed tonight is nothing new. You've all seen this information, which is good, because when we're reviewing an audit is not when you learn something, because these are the information we've been bringing you throughout the year. This was just validating that what we've been telling you all along is in fact, an orange is an orange. So.
Okay, I'm going to do an apple.
Okay.
Orange, okay. Mayor Rep, just
Councilmember
quickly.
Ashford.
So just to piggyback off of Councilmember Ruiz's statement, on page 4, that actually demonstrates what you're trying to say, the significant findings of issues that would show up, this is what you do?
Yes, if we came across any journal entries that we had to propose to fix the financial statements or any other internal control matters, actually there would be a separate required communication to you if we found deficiencies, material weaknesses, or significant deficiencies that needed to be reported to you. But
Okay.
we didn't identify any of those.
Okay, so the countermeasures that have been taken thus far in the interest of our financial picture here is really acceptable and moving in the right direction for you as far as having a clean audit moving forward?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Sure.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilmember Lewandowski.
Is it your professional opinion, you guys, just the policies that are reported, you don't really report on the policies that are advised to us, right?
No, we look at internal controls and how they affect the financial statements. So we want to see that duties are segregated, so the authorization, custody, and record keeping is separate. And then we look at those internal controls. Now, we do get the policy to make sure that, what they're telling us should be happening is actually happening within the system. So we walk through transactions to make sure that, if Ed's supposed to approve something, and then Bobby's supposed to authorize it or record that transaction. We're looking at that to make sure that it's not going off course. And if we did identify those deficiencies, we would communicate those to you. So we do get the policies, but we don't necessarily say, this is the best policy for you or not. We might have recommendations based on what we've seen at other places. Here's a way you could strengthen that internal control, but we don't provide an opinion on whether or not that policy is the best policy.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just my congratulations to Mr. Brennan and his department.
Yes. Thank you very much.
He was able to pull this together. In addition to pulling together the financial report, we did our work sessions, which required a lot of projections and data. And we also met with Standard & Poor's during that time and a lot of work there. And so Ed was able to get all that work done in a timely fashion. He has not cleaned his office yet, but he is working on it. It's piles of paper everywhere. So he does excellent work.
Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you to your staff. Thank you. And those piles will still be there. I've seen Ed's office before. Some people work better like that. We have the report in front of us to receive and file, and we've had the discussion. Is there, I guess there's no other discussion. We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, we'll move on to item 2, under from the city manager.
Is to receive and file the quarterly financial report for the 3-month period ending September 30th, 2014.
Is there a motion?
So moved?
Support.
Councilmember Cole, is there a second?
Support.
Was that you?
Second.
Yeah, okay. Councilmember Ashford. Any discussion?
I just have a minor question. I'm looking at the report here on money markets account, and I looked at this, and I hope it's not a mistake, but we're getting 0.4% on $26 million.
We're in the process of moving a lot of that, but yeah, rates are not very good.
And I guess the only other question I had, we were getting 0.9% back in June, and now we're getting 0.3%, or 0.03%. So we went from 0.09% to 0.03% on the Talmer Bank Fund.
Yeah, the rates have been dropping.
That much?
Yeah. We are in the process of moving some money to get, it's still going to be less than 0.5%, but it's going to be higher than we currently have.
There's nothing out there that can get us 8%.
That can get us 8%?
A.
Oh, 8%. There may be. Everything with a higher percent is a little more risk, so that's part of the, the balancing act that you have to go through. Actually, percentage of revenue earned is not our number one major criteria. It's, safeguarding of the taxpayers' assets, so.
I just thought it was an
Yeah.
interesting question, because it's just.
Oh,
it's-
yeah. I'd love to get a higher percent, so
Well, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions?
Could always invest in some lotto tickets.
Be about the same thing, right?
You'd be lucky around here.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on to resolutions. Item 1.
Is authorizing 9 payments.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Ruiz, is there discussion, questions?
Mayor Rep.
Yes,
I guess
Councilmember Harris.
this is a good discussion. I know that some of the administration in the office are always kind of critical when I bring up the fact about change orders and how much they cost us. I think that it should be brought to everybody's attention tonight that the change order in this thing here today is to our advantage of $76,000. And I just think that's a good thing, and that's a good down payment on North or South Boulevard. Commercial. But, yeah, thanks again, Robert, appreciate it, nice to see you.
Any other discussion? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, we'll move on to item 2.
Is approving the use of Community Development Block Grant, known as CDBG funds, for the immediate demolition of the property at 709 White Street.
Do we have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald and Councilmember Ashford. And is there discussion?
Mayor Rep.
Yes, Councilmember Cole.
I had asked for clarification over the weekend regarding the demolition of this property. I wasn't clear on why we were tearing this down and who it belonged to. So if Kim or Mr.
I can
Freed
actually read the response you got if you'd like. We're
Just so
partnering with
residents
the owner of
understand.
the home, which is the Leadership Academy. They're actually going to be demolishing the home, and we'll be using our CDBG funds to cover the hauling away, the removal of the debris, because they want to expand their playground. And so we'll help get this structure off the property and then help them expand their playground. So they're going to use volunteers to, and their own way of tearing down the building, so.
Thank you. Well, this
Councilmember
is-
Lewandowski.
What was the name of that company?
There was a Leadership Academy who currently owns the home.
Is that a for-profit business?
I don't believe so.
What is the
Believe
Leadership
it-
Academy?
It is the
It's a
charter school.
public
The newest
charter
charter school?
Yes, it is.
That's the name
Yeah.
of it?
I'm not sure that's the correct name in the, I don't know if that needs to be corrected in the resolution.
It's East Shore Academy. But it is leadership. It's the Leadership
Okay.
Academy East Shore, and it is a nonprofit.
Yeah, so I just wanted to comment that that's right in my neighborhood. I like the idea of having a playground. I see the other playgrounds in the area are used by the residents in the area. So I do see it as a win-win partnership between the city and another organization, so.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz.
No.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on to resolution number 3.
Is approving the multi-year agreement with Nelson Tank Engineering and Consulting Incorporated for professional engineering services for the painting of water storage tanks and miscellaneous pipes at the water filtration plant.
Is there a motion?
So moved?
Is that Councilmember Cole?
Yeah.
Support.
Councilmember Ashford. Is there discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
could we ask for further clarification and details on this?
Sure.
Mayor Rep and council members, City of Port Huron's water distribution system has various storage facilities. These are most seen by the public as elevated storage tanks, but we also have a ground storage facility in the north end. These structures are extremely expensive to install. And to provide safe drinking water and to assure their longevity, we must periodically go through the steel structures, rehabilitate the structures, and coat the structures to prevent them from corrosion and so on. The last time this was done to our structures is some 7 to 10 years ago, and it is prudent for us to do this on a periodic basis. Where we are now in the process is we have developed a multi-year program for protecting these valuable resources, and it has been included in our capital improvement programs. And at this juncture, we need to look at each of our storage facilities for the next 3 consecutive years. We go through a competitive selection process for engineering services whenever we do this. So this is just the engineering services. Then we competitively bid the actual work. The total cost of the work is budgeted at around $200,000 to $250,000. So this is a fraction of that cost to do that work. We've asked to do a multi-year agreement so that we have consistency with who prepares the documents, and we can hold them responsible for each and every one of our facilities that we maintain. So we went out for competitive proposals and invited 6 firms to propose, and this is our recommendation to do the work.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Lewandowski.
Bob, why do we need an engineering firm to tell us which pipes and tanks to paint?
Well, it goes beyond that. They actually go through and do testing of the metals, and this is a company that this is what they do for a living. So they have recommendations on coating types, latest coating technology, latest specifications. Our staff, we don't do coatings. We don't have that experience in-house. We do a tremendous amount of work on designing streets, sewers, water mains, but we're not coating experts. And I do not feel comfortable giving you that recommendation, and that's why we seek to go out and get that expertise elsewhere. This is what this company does.
And I get that part of it, but if they're testing the metal and that, but why do you need a multi-year contract with them, I guess? Then if you know if they're in their first, they go through and they do that, say, hey, this one's going to need it in 5 years, why do you got to keep bringing them back?
Yeah, the reason is because we're going to do each of our facilities. As the council has asked, we're trying to spread our cost over time, our capital cost over time. So instead of asking for $1 million to do, and I'm just throwing a number out, I apologize for that, but instead of asking for $1 million to do all of our storage facilities in the city, we're proposing to rehabilitate our storage facilities over a 3-year period. We're asking that we use the same consulting firm to do each of those. So what we did is we went out for a multi-year proposal. It was an equal playing field for everyone submitting the proposals. They all knew it was multi-year. They all knew that if council approves this agreement tonight, they'll only be authorized to do the first year, and then they will not be authorized to do the second or third year work unless city council says that the funds are in our budget and it's okay for us to go ahead. The agreement is written so that they are not to proceed with the work that's slated for year 2 or the work that's slated to year 3 until they receive a written document stating they may proceed with that, and that will only occur after council approves the appropriate funding for that project. If that funding does not come forward, then they will not be authorized to proceed and we will not incur any expense. But this saves us staff time. If each year we had to go out for proposals, review proposals to do essentially the same work, by doing it this way, we're saving staff time in reviewing proposals, and we're reducing the cost for the consultants to put those proposals together, and we're getting one firm that's going to do it year after year. We're establishing a relationship. So as we put these first year's documents together, they'll understand a little better about the technical or the non-technical side, the administrative side of what we're looking for, and the next couple of years will be more efficient. They do bill us on an hourly basis, and these are estimated cost. So anything we can do to make it more efficient will reduce our cost.
Wouldn't it be more efficient just to have them come in once and do all the facilities and have that report ready for the future?
Well, because we're not funded to do them all in this year, and because the facilities continue to deteriorate, I would not recommend that. I'd recommend that they in fact inspect these facilities on the year they're going to be coded to make certain they haven't missed anything, any deterioration that could have happened in the last year. That's why I would recommend to council that we authorize this on a yearly basis. Once you say that we can spend the money on it, they do those inspections. They prepare those documents. We'll do the work. They'll review and verify that that work is done properly. But the next year, if council, let's say next year, council does authorize that to go forward, there'll be some additional deterioration. They'll do their inspection, and we'll make certain we're getting the right bang for our dollar when the work is done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor Rupp?
Yes, Councilmember Ashford.
Yeah, Bob, I know you mentioned the piping, got a little bit of background in that, and when you talk about that corrosion, what's the consequences of that building up?
Well, the challenge becomes that for the piping itself, they actually measure the wall thickness of the deterioration of the pipe. And at some juncture, if the pipe is deteriorated to a point that there's concerns of weakness, now this is within our water plant.
Right.
You've been there.
Yeah, I've been
You've
there.
walked
It's the
through.
infrastructure,
You've seen
yeah.
how confined these spaces are and where our workers are walking next to these pipes. We don't want one of these pipes to let go. There's a lot of pressure in those, or potentially could be a high pressure, and certainly a large volume. So by painting or coating the pipes appropriately, or doing other types of cathodic protection and other types of protection to the metal, we can preserve that metal for a longer period of time.
All right.
And this is very costly infrastructure. So anything we can do to maximize the length of the life of that infrastructure is a significant savings to the people who are paying for this.
Okay. Now, is there any standard policy, safety, MyOcean, anything that is connected with that?
Well, certainly there's many
Inspection?
standards.
Right.
There's probably too long for me to list right now. And that's why we're bringing in an outside expert, because they're up to date with all of the current standards.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor Rupp.
Anyone else? Thank you.
You're welcome.
We will take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes.
Mayor Rep, I would just like to say, it wasn't part of the discussion, that when we do talk about our wastewater treatment plant and things like that, it is one of our primary infrastructures that we have, and it's almost like you've got to take care of it. You know, you don't have a choice. You know, we put our residents in jeopardy if we are not prudent to, you know, to seeing after the oversight over that and what we could do,
True.
so, thank you.
Very true. We have one ordinance.
Is being given its second reading and is an ordinance to amend Chapter 34 offenses, Article 6, offenses against public morals, Division 1 generally, Section 34-250, use and/or possession of marijuana of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances for the purpose of updating the section to reflect a November 2014 voter-approved initiatory petition proposal.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Ruiz, is there discussion?
Is, Mayor Rep?
Yes,
Is this,
Councilmember Ashford.
is this the last one? Is this the last one that we're
Yes.
going to have to, okay.
Yes, it is. Anything else? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. That concludes our regular agenda for this evening. We do have an announcement that the city offices will be closed December 24th and the 25th and the 31st and January 1st in observance of the holidays. And obviously, too, this is our last council meeting of the year. So unless we have a special meeting, we're not having another regular meeting this year. So this would be the last one in 2014. Also, I guess before I ask anybody else, I would ask, there were some concerns brought up about the leaf pickup program and leaves and that, and I have received a few calls on that, so I just wonder if maybe we could get just kind of an update on how that went and what we might change next year, or what we, if you could do that.
I'll send out a memorandum later this week.
Okay, do we have anything that we could share this evening as far as,
Yeah, actually, we addressed this earlier in the week. Bob, you want to quickly
just for the gentleman who did bring up his concerns?
reiterate the quickly part?
Yeah,
So.
the quickly part.
I don't need the whole email you gave me earlier.
Well, I don't know precisely what you're looking for, but the leaf collection program is a program that the city provides over and above its other waste collection, solid waste services that we provide, including yard waste, containerized yard waste. And we, of course, provide it in the fall of the year. We advertised this service prior to it beginning. And prior to 2012, we used to do it utilizing 5 zones. And we began the program earlier, and it ended about the same time as the program does now. We used to receive a tremendous number of calls, more calls than we do under the current program when we had those 5 zones. And that is because with the 5 zones, it was very, we would begin so early, many people would complain that the leaf collection crews were out before the leaves fell, and by the end, some people were affected significantly by snow events. In the 15 years I've been here, I recall there was actually a time we had to suspend operations and then pick them up in the spring of the year, for example. And certainly, that does not speak ill of anyone or how we scheduled that. It's just hard to predict Mother Nature. So in 2012, we began a 6-week program using 2 zones. The city is bifurcated east and west, and we collect 1 week on Zone 1 and then 1 week on Zone 2 and so on until the 6-week period is completed. That is heavily advertised. We send out flyers to everyone in the community. The challenge we have is to extend, we can extend service if that's what council wishes. And the vendor has actually provided hourly rates to do that. And we could do that. The challenge is that if we were to do that, we would have to put out a public notice ahead of time. We'd have to get the community on board. They would have to explain that so people would have the opportunity to gather those leaves out. My experience is if you send people into an area for that type of service without pre-announcing it, now you're going to have those say, well, I didn't know you were coming. And then they're going to rake out. And then they're going to say, well, when are you going to get mine? So it has to be a planned and organized process. Certainly, we can take into account Mr. Skinner's comments about should we change the dates, and we could discuss that for next year's program. But my concern would be at this juncture, if we were to do additional collections, by the time we notified the public, we would, by all likelihood, would be well into the snow season. And my experience with trying to collect leaves in heavy snow events is not very successful. So that's kind of where we are with that. Also, the yard waste cannot be taken to the landfill. That's by state law. It's not something our refuse hauler indicates, I can't take it. We can't take it to the landfill. State law prohibits that from taking place. And we can't change that. And so we take it to a licensed compost facility. There does come a point in time in the year where weather prohibits them to continue to operate, and they shut down for the season also. So there's limits as to what we can do. Certainly, we can consider things for next year, but at this juncture, I wouldn't recommend moving forward with any changes.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Lewandowski.
if anybody can accurately predict when the leaves are going to fall, you'll be a rich person. If you started early, they fall late. If you started late, they fall early. That's how it goes
I think
every
that's
year.
fair.
I know.
Yeah.
I actually was late raking mine out, and I had to pay a private company to come take them, and it was quite salty.
Well, they should have just called the city, they'll come get them. When I worked in 2010, after I lost the state rep race, I worked on the back of one of the leaf trucks for a couple months, and I can't tell you how many people I watched rake them out right as we went by, so.
Go by, yeah. How true. Thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else that has anything to bring before council?
One last comment. I would ask the administration to take seriously Mr. Gino's problems with what he's having up there with the, I don't know if he's having a problem, but it might develop. And I know that, I think the city manager also knows that Mr. John Kennedy, who's a Native American, is quite concerned about what's going up there and what gets moved and whether there's any artifacts that are interested in. And I think most of these gentlemen deserve our time, so.
Yeah, to that I'll quickly respond. We are working with Marcia Haynes actually on the excavated materials to allow a time for an archaeologist to go through those. So we are working on that. I've been in contact with Mr. Kennedy as well on different issues, but we are working on that. Was there Bob, just a shake of your head, was there a pre-construction meeting held before Baker started with utilities?
We reviewed the plans for our utilities, and each of the utility companies would have reviewed them.
Okay, so the gas company is aware of the work going on, there's a scope of work going on. So I'll take it seriously. I do want the people sure they're not in danger. And just to reinforce that, I will contact utilities tomorrow. Yeah, I'll let Kim speak as well. Yeah.
Mayor and councils, I'll be very brief. At the Planning Commission, at the end of the Planning Commission meeting last Tuesday night, Mrs. Bender provided us with a letter from Mr. Gino, and the next day, I extrapolated that information. We had received requests from him in September, and we did respond to those at that time, and sent him a very detailed description of the construction and where it would be located, and how many feet behind property lines, et cetera. But his question with regards to the gas line, I once again reiterated that and sent a copy to Mike Rosso from Tetra Tech, who's working with Orion Construction, and also to Baker College on Wednesday, and asked for them to give us back a breakdown of the exact number of location of abandoned gas lines and active gas lines, and what their setbacks were. And they were also getting some information from SEMCO. And as soon as we received that, or they received that, they were going to forward it on to us. As of this morning, I hadn't gotten anything back. They were still waiting for the gas company. So as soon as we have that, we will send that on to Mr. Gino, and we've indicated that to them. So we have been working on it, and we'll continue to do so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Councilmember Ashford.
Yeah, Mayor Rep, I have an announcement. On Sunday, December the 14th, the historic Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church will be recognizing in its service in lieu of the injustice going throughout our country, our United States in regards to young African males. We've been asked by our national organization to wear black on Sunday to church, and also to encourage our other, local churches to do the same. And so we invite you, at 11, it's our regular 11 o'clock worship service, and we got a special piece of our worship service that we will address that Elder John Thornton will address the congregation and all those that are in there. So we're asking everybody to do that, and they will also be observing this throughout the United States at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who has anything they'd like to bring to the table? If not, I'll say Merry Christmas. Sounds funny saying it this early, but.
What did the mayor get us?
Did the mayor get you?
Yeah.
We'll just wait and see if you get it in your
Did the mayor
stocking.
We're invited to her house for hot chocolate.
The 22nd off, that's what we got.
And move we adjourn.
I was going to say, someone needs to move, we adjourn, so, thank you very much, meeting adjourned.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Grandson, the one I don't see very often.